June, everybody. Happy Pride Month. Happy reading, because this account I feel like has just become a booktube. We are now a channel of books, which is super on theme, I feel like. It is June 1st, okay? So by June 30th, I need to have 7 books done. Do we think we can do it? I think we can do it, because I am halfway through 2. So I feel like we can do it. Let's start off with the first book that I'm currently in the middle of, and that is Half His Age by Jeanette McCrudy. This book is about a girl named Waldo who is a senior in high school, and she basically falls in love with her teacher. That is all I know thus far. I'm 16% of the way in, currently reading it on my Kindle. That's all I know. I honestly like it so far. After the Hunger Games trilogy, I really needed to kind of just diversify and just spread out to different genres, because I feel like I was so enveloped in the Hunger Games that I just needed something different. I ended up reading Wildfire, which is the second book in the Maple Hills series trilogy. It's the second book after Icebreaker, if you know that book, which if you read, you probably do. But I ended up reading the second book, then I moved on to Half His Age. The next book on my June TBR is a book that I'm actually halfway done. It is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. When am I actually gonna finish this book? Because I feel like it's been on my TBR since January and I've just never finished it. I'm on page 101 out of 204, and I think while I was reading it about 2 nights ago, it clocked that the reason why I haven't been reading this as much, or why I haven't finished this, is because this book genuinely just makes me uncomfortable. Not in a way of like its contents are like yuck. It's kind of calling me out. I feel confronted, and that is what the point of the book is. The book is literally like, why do you care when you shouldn't be caring? Like, why? And I'm like, you're so right, but you did not need to call me up. That's where we're sitting. I am going to finish this book though in June, because duh, I just kind of have to take it in doses and really try not to lose my marbles when I'm reading this book. I'm also highlighting because I want to take notes and add it to my Obsidian, and so I've just been kind of going slow. Same thing about The Mountain Is You. This one doesn't make me uncomfortable as of yet. I'm on page 30 out of like 240. I'm not uncomfortable thus far, but I have a feeling these self-help books that are meant to make us dive deep within ourselves, it's going to make me uncomfortable. I have a feeling. We're annotating, we're highlighting, we're adding our little sticky notes, so she's taking a little bit, but she will be read in the month of June. Next book, Normal People by Sally Rooney. This book I had suspected that I was going to get rid of. But then I thought, you bought the book. You spent money on the book. People like the book. Read the book. I think I'm gonna give it one more try. Even though I don't like the writing style, and I don't like that there's quotations, that there isn't quotations, sorry, I'm still just gonna give it another try. How bad could it be? It's almost 300 pages. I could do this no problem. Then the last book that I'm going to be reading this month is The Song of Achilles. My sister actually just finished reading this book, so this is her copy. She annotated it, she highlighted. I don't think she highlights, actually. I highlight, but she annotates, and she has like her table of contents in the front with her sticky notes. I've been meaning to read this book for a long time. For years, actually. And so finally this month I will be reading it, and you will be following along, because we're not just doing the whole, these are the books that I'm reading in June. This is me telling you, you're gonna watch me read these books, and we're gonna hold me accountable, and you're gonna hear my thoughts about these books. Did I say the last book? I don't know if I said the last book, but the actual last book that I'm trying to read in June is The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. I think after all of this reading, I think I'm ready to jump back into the Hunger Games universe. I think it's about time that I pick it up soon and jump back in. So, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, Half His Age, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, The Mountain Is You, Normal People, and The Song of Achilles. Do we think we can do it? Yes! And we will! Even though my days will only get busier. But even if I read 5 out of the 7, I'm going to be quite happy. Yeah, we could do it. We could do it in 4 weeks, for sure. I can finish a book in 3 days, so this shouldn't be bad, right? Let's get on to reading Half His Age, because it's a 200-page book, and I'm kind of flying through it, so. Okay, so it has been a few days since I recorded the intro, and I think I recorded the intro on like June 2nd. It is now June 6th. I have finished Half His Age by Jeanette McCrudy, and on Goodreads, I gave it a solid 3 stars out of 5. Honestly, I feel like I was expecting more from this book. I don't know, is that sad to say? Is that bad to say? This is the first book that I finished of the month. I feel like I just wanted more from the main character, and I know the main character is like an 18-year-old, and she's not really meant to, I don't know, really figure out life at her, age. But without giving too much detail, I just wish she didn't fall into the patterns of the people who came before her, and I wish she saw what she didn't like and ran the opposite direction instead of falling into those patterns. But I guess you kind of just do what you know, so how much can I really blame a 17, 18-year-old girl? I think this was a good first read of June. This book made me severely uncomfortable. It kind of gives me my Dark Vanessa vibes. It's kind of giving little hints of Lolita. And if you know both of those books, then you'll probably know where this book is going if you plan on reading it. It is from the perspective of a girl named Waldo, and yeah, that's really all I can say about that without giving too many spoilers. Yeah, I was just uncomfortable while reading it, but it was successful, and I think Jeanette McCrudy's writing was successful in doing that. Like, I think good writing is meant to make you feel something, whether positive or negative, and this definitely made me feel negative up until the very end, like literally the last page, where I was like, okay, right, so that makes sense, that's good, but it also kind of leaves me on this cliffhanger of I want to know more. Like, I wish that I got more information at the end. But that is that. That is the first book on my TBR for June that is finished. I was in the middle of this book and I decided to complete this. And the second book that I'm reading and that I'm trying to complete is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I am very close to being done this book. I've had to confront a lot of my own internal issues through this book. So thank you, Mark Manson, for making me uncomfortable, of course, for making me so introspective and making me face myself. I've been highlighting and sort of annotating just a little bit, just a tiny bit, as I go along, just some things that I want to remember. I think that there's so many good lessons in this book. One of the lessons that I just learned recently was about the dangers of certainty, and also about why we as human beings will most of the time be wrong, and why we should always be wrong, and why we should be okay with being wrong. And that's just because that's how we learn. And there are so many people, and I can attribute this to just society in general, and in the book it brings up the political climate of the world, but I can just attribute this to society. Like, people are so obsessed with being right that it almost strips them of their wrongness, which in turn would allow them to grow, because everybody wants to be right, nobody wants to be seen as stupid. But we make people who are wrong the stupid ones, when really those who are wrong and accept that they're wrong are really the smart ones, because they allow room for growth. And so that was a really important thing that I think I learned, because for me personally, growing up, I was very much like, no, this is actually it. This is right, this is right, this is right. I did my research on a bunch of things. If what I'm saying is scientifically backed and it is, there's actual evidence of it, then sure, I'm right. But if there's like a philosophical standpoint, or there's something that can't be backed by science and it's specifically based on the human experience, nobody is right, nobody is wrong. It is purely subjective. And so I think reading that kind of just confirmed that in my brain and let me sit with that thought, and just made me more comfortable with the idea that we can all be wrong, and that's fine, because the second that we accept that we're wrong and we learn something else, we are closer to the truth. But we will never be perfect human beings, and we just have to deal with that, because there is no perfect. What is perfect? Who is perfect? And yeah, so I really like this book so far. I am going to watch the movie Obsession in about an hour. I'm leaving, so I'm just gonna try and knock out a couple of more pages of reading. I know you guys see this, you guys see my dog ears on some of the pages. I'm sorry, I was reading it when I was driving, like when my family was on a family drive, and I didn't have my highlighter, so I had to dog ear some of the pages. I know, but it's my book, so I can do what I want. Yeah, I'm gonna knock out some of the pages, and that's gonna be that. And then hopefully we'll finish this within the next, honestly, like 2 days. I can finish this, I feel like, by Monday. All right, let's continue reading. Listen to this. Many or even most of our values are products of events that are not representative of the world at large, or are the result of a totally misconceived past. Have you ever heard truer words? Have you? Mark Manson tends to bring in a lot of scientific research into his writing in this book specifically. He talks a lot about just different experiments done in the past, different research, psychological research, honestly. And right now he's discussing the Stanford prison experiment, which, as a psych student myself, this is a very talked about experiment in the psych world. It taught us so much about people and power. If you don't know about the Stanford prison experiment, I suggest you look it up. It's quite sad, honestly. This Stanford prison experiment was about when they gave regular prisoners power as prison guards, and just the things that they would do to the other prisoners once they received that little bit of power just says so much about people. And yeah, it's gross. It's really gross. And I feel like when power is given to the wrong people, some very bad things happen, and we need to look out for that and not give these wrong people the power. It was done with not prisoners, it was done with people who volunteered, obviously, to participate. They couldn't do it with actual prisoners, and it was a faux prison setting, but it was just seeing how people will just adopt a role when given the power and completely will deviate from their moral compass once given that power is so, like, what do you do with that information? You know what I mean? Like, what do we as a society do with that information? We try not to give people the wrong power, but ultimately people just adopt these toxic traits. So Mark basically says, for individuals to feel justified in doing horrible things to other people, they must feel an unwavering certainty in their own righteousness, in their own beliefs and deservedness. So racist people do racist things because they're certain about their genetic superiority. Religious fanatics blow themselves up and murder dozens of people because they believe that they're certain of their place in heaven as martyrs. Evil people never believe that they are the evil ones. Rather, they believe that everyone else is evil. And then he quotes the Stanford prison experiment. And that was so interesting, right? Because you look at, like, serial killers, for example. Why did they kill? Right? There was one serial killer, I don't remember the name, but he, like, murdered his mother, and it was because he just believed that all women were evil, you know? Anyway, that was like a tangent of me just my frontal lobe developed just a little bit more when reading that section of the book. Like, he also says, men rape and abuse women out of certainty that they're entitled to women's bodies. Okay, clocked. Anyway, I love a good rant, and I love a good rant, and I love a good tangent about anything psychological, because it really is the foundation of us as human beings. Like, whenever I tell people that I study psych, they'll be like, oh, and then they'll ask me to psychoanalyze them, but are you asking me to psychoanalyze you because you're worried about what I'll think about you, or are you asking me to psychoanalyze you so I can confirm your entitledness? Right? Who knows? Anyway, we continue to read now. It is June 8th, so we've just started the second week of June, and I'm already done my second book. How I feel about this book. I believe I said it in the intro, but this book basically makes me confront everything about myself, and it makes me kind of uncomfortable. It made me super uncomfortable when reading it because it just made me think about a lot of things that I don't usually think about, a lot of things that I wouldn't even think about, really. I annotated and I highlighted quite a few pages, but I think one of the things that stuck with me the most in this book was the talk about death, the talk about commitment, and the talk about a vivid before and after period in our lives. And those three were all towards the end of the book. So I really sat through the first part of the book and I was like, I'm uncomfortable. And then it hit. And then it hit at the last, 50 pages. Basically, the death part of the book was talking about how we need to come to terms with our mortality. We need to come to terms with the fact that death is inevitable. And instead of fearing death, just understand that it is there, that it is going to happen. And we should live knowing that we are going to die, but use death as motivation to live life to the fullest. Because what's the point of just sitting there and sulking in the fact that your death is inevitable when you should be more positive and think, well, I'm here now, let me do things now before my inevitable death. So that kind of stuck with me. It also stuck with me because Mark Manson brings up his best friend, or one of his close friends, that ended up passing away when he was 19, and that was a very clear before and after part for him in his life. He was basically saying that part of his life, it was almost like pre-tragedy, post-tragedy, and that's sort of how he broke up his life, was pre-Josh's death and then post-Josh's death. I was trying to think about a time that was a very clear before and after for me, and it was definitely a year ago when I had came back from Korea. I'm planning on making a year video of me focusing on myself. So we'll talk more about that in another video, but that point is basically a very clear before and after point for me. There's like the before Korea and then there's the after Korea, and I feel like I am a completely different human being than who I was a year ago, 2 years ago now. So that really stuck with me. And then there was the commitment aspect of it, which also kind of stuck. I've never really been someone who is afraid of commitment. I've committed to a lot of things. I've committed to my degree. I've committed to people in relationships. I've committed to my family. I've committed to hobbies that I enjoy and learning. But commitment now feels so unnecessary, especially since I'm in a part of my life where I don't know what to commit to, and I'm sort of trying to reach into different areas of life to just see what sticks, basically. And he was basically saying that eventually you're gonna have to commit, and basically you're gonna have to settle down. And if you wish to, and if you choose to, and if you care about the right things, that shouldn't be so bad. And so that I'm sort of looking forward to, because even though I'm in sort of a spontaneous point in my life where I get to travel and I get to try different jobs and I haven't settled or committed to a career, there will be a day that I will need to settle down into a career, and there will be a day that I need to not travel as much and really just like work on building my life. But as of right now, I'm a very spontaneous and I'm very impulsive, and I think I allow myself to be impulsive because pre-Korea or pre-tragedy for me, which was the relationship that I had that ended, I was never able to be as impulsive. I was super controlled by what my partner at the time wanted, and I wouldn't really be able to do much on my own if they didn't want to do it with me. So now that I've been given that freedom to explore the world and explore myself and explore my likes, my dislikes, my wants, my needs, my hobbies, I'm taking full advantage of it. And so I think this book was such a perfect book to read at this time in my life where I can actually understand what we were talking about. I feel like if I had read this book even a year ago, if I read this book in Korea, I probably wouldn't have been able to grasp the concepts as well as now, just because I have gone through experiences in the past year that allow me to approach this book with empathy and sympathy towards myself. This book also taught me a lot about insecurities, and I've always just deemed people who are rude, who are abusive, who neglect the people in their lives, I've always deemed them to be insecure. And I think this book broke it down in such a digestible way. There's the people who are entitled because they feel that they're better than everyone, and then there is the people who feel entitled because they feel as though they are worse than everyone. And I can see both sides. In my life specifically, I definitely can see where insecurities lie in other people, and that is not just from this book. It's definitely from my own introspective work. It's definitely from just doing like psychoanalytic work on people that I know, just for no other reason other than it's interesting to me. I'm a psych major. That kind of thing just comes with the degree. When you learn a certain pattern, you try and see if it fits in the people that are around you. Like if you learn about how scars heal in biology and you get a scar, you're gonna think to what you know and apply it to that scar and think, oh, this is why it's healing because of the platelets and the white blood cells and all that. And so when I learn something in psych, I sort of attribute that to just about everybody because it's what I learned, right? But I think this book is great, especially if you want to learn how to not give a fuck about certain things. It also talks a little bit about control and what you can and can't control in your life. And I, from a young age, have actually been told about the control circle or the control Venn diagram, which is basically like you can control your reactions, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, but you can't control, or you can semi-control your career, you can semi-control the people that you're around, but you definitely can't control other people's emotions, other people's reactions, other people's actions, and stuff like that. And so I've always held that with me, and he touches on it in this book, and it was just a nice reinforcement to know that, like, I have been following this for quite a while, and it's more relevant than ever now, I think, in my life. That is all I had to say about this book. I think that everybody should read it regardless of the age that they are, because this book could either allow you to be more retrospective and look to the past and reflect on what's happened in the past, or it can allow you to be more proactive and more prospective about the future and really just carry what this book tells you with you. Last thing before we get on to the next book is I want to say that I like how this book is just no bullshit. Like, Mark Manson isn't saying you have to be happy all the time and you have to trick your brain into being positive and you have to be happy. This book is literally saying go with the flow. Like, something's gonna hurt, yeah, so feel it. And that's what I really appreciate about this book, is that it's no bullshit and it's not trying to sell you this huge like lifestyle. It's not trying to sell you this idea that you have to be happy all the time and you need to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to get this and this and this done, and then you need to by 10 o'clock do this. Like, it is very much like, we are mundane people. We aren't extraordinary, because if everybody was extraordinary, then nobody would be extraordinary. And we should accept that, and we should love that about ourselves, and just do what we want to do without the expectation of other people having expectations on us, really. So anyway, we're moving on to the next book. And the next book is going to be The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, because I need to get a head start on that. And yeah, that's this book. All right, read it. Check. Whoa, you guys, she has red hair. Oh, my Kindle fell. Whoa, guys, so cool. You guys see the absolute mess going on my bed right now. Whatever. Act like you don't see it. It's not there. She doesn't exist. I'm currently recording 2 videos at the same time. I'm recording this video, and I'm also recording the reaction video of me reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I'm kind of just repeating information, but I'm trying to give information from different parts of the book, so I'm not like just regurgitating the same stuff. Currently on page 165, and I like the book so far, but I feel like it's a really slow start. I know that it's like 500 and some odd pages. I'm sort of warming up to Snow. Yeah, I think I'm warming up to Snow a little bit. I was really against him originally because I was like, ugh, man in power. Not like that though, but like, I mean, yeah, man in power. And he was just not a good person in the 3 other books. So I was just super hesitant to start. I think I've mentioned this in this video, and I definitely mentioned it in the actual reaction video. I don't know which one's coming out first. We'll see. Yeah, I was super hesitant, but learning about him as a kid, I feel sympathy for him. I really do. Like, he's in the capital, and, you know, he had a really good family. Like, they were wealthy. But, you know, he lost his dad, and he lost his mom during childbirth. And yeah, I just feel sort of bad, but also he's extremely privileged, so how bad can I actually feel? I mean, like, I have a little bit of sympathy for him, but I also think that his relationship with Lucy Gray is super telling of who he is. I think bro just needs companionship, to be honest. And I think Lucy Gray, played by Rachel Zegler in the movie, I think she's a cute character too. I think she also just needs companionship. She was an orphan. She is an orphan. And she grew up around kids and no, like, parents, I guess. But I think their dynamic is super interesting because they're both orphaned, but they're from completely different walks of life. And the capital, which Snow is from, is what inflicted, or what caused, I guess, her to be an orphan. And so the fact that she still is able to talk to him and have some compassion and not approach him with hatred is so powerful. I think that if I was in her position, yeah, I would hate every single person that lived in the capital, regardless of where they came from, who they were. You destroyed my family. I don't know. I think she's just approaching him with a lot of compassion and kindness first. There's another character that, like, ran away and hates the capital, and he was, I don't know how to say his name, Sejanus? I don't know how to say his name. I'm gonna put it on the screen so you know who I'm talking about. Totally butchering it, and I'm gonna hear it in the movie and be like, oh, that's how it's pronounced. But his tribute, like, ran away, and good, ran away from the capital. But Sejanus maybe, is from District 2, and so he knows the difference between the capital and the districts. And so he's kind of standing his ground. I think that he's going to get killed. Unfortunately, because Dr. Gall is doing her absolute best to keep the games running. Yeah, what else is there to say other than that, really? It's quite unfortunate. But yeah, I love Lucy Gray. I think she's so cute. Her remaining optimistic is so powerful, especially when she's being treated like an animal, like taken to the veterinarian for her injuries. Like not like a person doctor, not a human doctor, a doctor for animals. Like, her being like, yeah, you see all this? You see all what's going... Make me win. She's like, no, I can do it. We just need to strategize. And my odds are better. Okay. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think that's all I have to say right now. I have to jump into a meeting, unfortunately, because obligations. I'm going to try and continue reading. I gave myself a deadline for Monday. It is currently Friday the 12th. And I don't think that I'll be able to finish it by Monday, but I'm going to do my absolute best to try and finish it. At least get more than half of the book done by Monday. I just haven't really been able to sit down and read recently, which is kind of sad because I'm trying to finish my TBR. And out of 500 pages, I have 165 pages done, and I've started reading it Monday, I think. So typically I would finish a book in a few days, but at the start I just was not rocking with the book, and I just haven't had a lot of time to sit down and actually read. And before bed I'm super tired, so I just don't feel like reading, and I listen to my body. So we will continue on reading every single day. I'm adding books to my TBR though, and I am so excited to just like read. Today I'm actually going to Indigo, but I'm not going to buy any books, unfortunately. I'm just going to browse and take pictures and put them into my Goodreads. Yep, that's what I do. To get the satisfaction, but save my money. Don't hate me for what I'm about to say next. I've never read the Twilight series, and I apologize. Guys, it's literally the entire reason that I'm here is because I want to read a bunch of series that I missed out on when I was younger. One of the reasons why I was like, okay, maybe I should pick up the Twilight series, because I'm currently in the middle of the Hunger Games series, as you know. Then I'm gonna read Divergent, but then I was thinking to myself, there are so many series that I've just never read, and I don't want to buy the books because unless they're like secondhand, that's a different story, but I don't want to buy new books just because to me it just feels like a waste of money. I go to Indigo and I spend $25 for a single paperback. Those used to be $12. So I was like, what's another series that I can look into? I went to my local flea market and I was like, they have the Twilight series. But then I remembered that growing up, my cousin had the Twilight series. She had all 4 books. So I texted her and I said, hey, do you have the Twilight series still? She said, they're somewhere. If you can find them, you can have them. They're now in my possession. I don't think she even got past the first book, because when I was going through each book, the first book had a Polaroid of her and I in it as her bookmark. She got halfway through the first book and then she stopped and never picked up any of the other books. So I have reason to believe that these 3 books have never even been opened. Not a single word read, and so I'm going to change that because these books deserve to be loved and read, because that's the purpose. You're going to spend money on it and not read it? What? But after the Hunger Games series, I am probably going to read a few standalones. Like, I want to read Normal People, and I want to read The Maid, and there are just a bunch of standalone books that I'm like, okay, I think I need to get these out of the way. Like another one, Hail Mary and Yesteryear. Those are really, really popular right now, especially because the Hail Mary movie came out, and Yesteryear, there's a movie coming out for that. So I just need to be on top of my game and get into these books. Maybe I'll read a few books at the same time, but I've been really good recently with starting a book and finishing it because I can't be in the middle of multiple when I'm reading the Hunger Games series and I'm editing a bunch of videos at the same time. It just doesn't work for my brain. I posted a TikTok about me starting to read this series and people are commenting, good luck. Oh, I didn't know luck was needed. Some people are saying that they didn't like the ending. Great. Always love to hear that. I love when people are disappointed at the ending of a book series. That just makes me feel so fantastic. But yeah, we're gonna go into these ones next. I feel like I need to have a list of book series that I want to finish and then read a bunch of them and post it for you guys, because there are so many book series. There's ACOTAR, there's Throne of Glass, there's the Powerless series, there's the Boys of Toman. I already read the Off-Campus series, guys. I already read that. But there's just so many. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be spending a lot of my time reading books. Okay, so I just got back from work. And, ooh, Gimbal, what are you following? Follow me. Follow me. I just got back from work. And while I was at work, I was reading, or not reading, that's the wrong word, listening to the audiobook of People We Meet on Vacation. I've been saying that that's a book that I wanted to pick up for a while now, and so, will she cooperate? And so I've been trying to get this book done too, as well as reading The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. But the reason why specifically this book is because I really want to watch the movie or show that came out. But also, it's one of the few books available for me to have right now at my library. Like, all of the other books are on hold, and they're basically like, you're gonna have to wait 3 months before you get the book. Oh! So, when I was doing my rounds on Libby and I was like, what book can I read? This was one of the very few, along with Half His Age and the Matthew Perry memoir, which I had already read, so I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But we're 2 hours into the audiobook, 19%. My only issue with audiobooks is that, like, I'll typically put it on for some background noise while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. But if ever I'm distracted and if ever I'm like really locked in, I'm not listening to what's going on in my ears. So I feel like there's some parts that I'm missing. There's like holes in the plot because I've just not been listening the greatest. So maybe I'll go back and read it. But for now, what I know of this book is Poppy is the main character. Then there's Alex, her guy best friend, who they would plan a bunch of vacations with. Like, they would plan vacations together. Alex and her had this really big like argument or something, and they didn't talk for 2 years. She reaches out to Alex, and now they're like planning vacations and like stuff together again. It goes back and forth between like this summer and like 10 summers ago, 12 summers ago, 5 summers ago. And so it's kind of hard to like conceptualize time, especially when I'm like listening to it. But even reading it, I feel like I like a good timeline, because like the prologue is literally like 5 summers ago, and then chapter 1 and 2 are this summer, and then moves all the way back to 12 summers. It's like, I feel like I need a timeline. Like, I need a graph, because sometimes something may happen that I'm like, was this before or after? But anywho, I know it's a love story though, but I don't know the trope. I'm assuming it's like childhood best friends to lovers. I'm assuming it's with the guy Alex. I'm gonna put it on my Goodreads, and then we're gonna move on to the Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. For some reason, every time I say it, it's a tongue twister. I don't know why. People we meet on vacation, not the people we meet on vacation. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I do also have the actual book. My cat is coming. I hear her steps. They're so heavy. I do have the actual like book, so I'm gonna try and get to the spot that I am in the audiobook so that on my spare time I can also read it. And it shouldn't be too hard because it's the same program, so it's like, oh, chapter 7, and it has, you get it. Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. Okay, so I am editing both of these videos at the same time. This vlog, which I'm probably gonna end pretty soon, and the Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes vlog. Hello, cat. Now, for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I'm on page 210. Tomorrow is Monday. I said that I would finish it by Monday. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I try my best to really like snow. Like, I really am doing my best, but I just don't like snow. Like, him and Lucy shared their first kiss. Yeah, hey, great. We all saw it coming. But the things he says is just so selfish. He's like, oh, I don't want people to know that I'm close with this guy because I don't want to tamper my name. Oh my gosh. Boo. Like, literally boo. Also because the guy, I think his name is Sejanus, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is district. Like, he's District 2, but was brought to the capital because his family is wealthy. Like, why don't you want to... Bro, he's also just a straight liar. He's like, Clemencia, the reason why I didn't go see you when you were sick was because of... And then someone else said something, and then he ran with that lie. Like, what are we doing? Just say you didn't want to go see her, and that be that. Oh, you got busy. Blah, 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 blah. You make time for people you care about. He just bothers me. But now, the game is starting. The game has started. They've run away from, like, but now the game has started. They're all in the same room. Like, all of the mentors are in the same room. Isn't that weird? Like, it's very different from the first books and, like, how the Hunger Games was run then, because obviously this is like 60 something years into the future, but it's just weird that they're all bunched together in the same room, and they're all like, they have a list of gifts on their communicuffs that they're gonna send over, and it's like, huh? What? But it's the fact that they even have communicuffs. Like, the way they're acting is like, you guys have nothing. Like, the capital's acting like, oh, we got nothing. Boom, communicuff. Boom, elevator's working all of a sudden. Boom, we have drones. Like, what are we doing? Right. I'm going to continue reading, but I'm going to end the vlog here. If you guys want to see my full reaction of everything that goes on in this book, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, stay tuned because I'm going to be uploading my reaction to that the same way that I uploaded my reaction to the 3 other books in the trilogy. So stay tuned. And I'm also going to be watching the movie as well. And then we're going to read Sunrise on the Reaping because that is apparently people's favorite book out of the 5. I did hear a spoiler about that book, which I'm not gonna tell you guys, but I did hear a spoiler, unfortunately, so I'm kind of going into it with a little bit of distaste. But anyway, that's gonna be all for today's video. Hopefully you like these reading vlogs. I have been having so much fun reading. I mean, I'm pretty much home like all the time now, other than like the odd occasion. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna end the video now. I hope you've been liking the booktube style of videos. I mean, it's currently what I'm into, and my channel is a reflection of me. Soon it'll be travel, and so yeah, I'm just going with the waves of what my life is bringing to me. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy. Like I said earlier in the video, tell me different series that you want me to pick up and read, because I would love to make a series on YouTube of me reading series of books for the first time. I think that would be really fun, and there's so many that I have to catch up on, and I think you'd honestly like my reactions because I'm sort of very animated, and I'm very expressive, so yeah. Anyway, please like, please subscribe. We are at like 626 subscribers the last time I checked. I've been on this channel for like 4 years now, and I would love to see like this channel be big one day and like, I don't know, just fulfill my creative outlet of recording and editing, because it is such a joy for me and it's such a hobby of mine. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one, whatever it is. It could be a book video, it could be a random sit-down video. Who knows where the tides will take me, but okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.